Hey yo, it's Retro. Welcome to another video. Real quick, I just want to show y'all something, bro. I just got my girlfriend got me this. It's a Static Shock Batman shirt. Like it's the coolest fucking thing. I swear to God, bro. I know this is a Marvel review, but real quick, and it got their logos right there. I'm just flexing a little bit. I fucking love this shirt, bro. Y'all, happy New Year, happy holidays. Been gone for a little bit, been about 3 weeks. But I needed some time. Needed some time to, enjoy the holidays, enjoy the new year. Last time I have seen y'all, talk to y'all, I've gained over 100. I thought this was a joke, but I gained over 100 subs. Everybody that has joined the family, thank you. I appreciate y'all. Like, subscribe, join the family. Enjoy the videos. Today I got a fun one. Today is something that I wanted to get out last year before the year ended, but I was like, you know what, it's still a good time to get it out right now. So today, as you can see by the title, we're talking about the Ultimate Universe 1 year later. I put out a review on the Ultimates Volume 1. I did a little bit of a background on how this new Ultimate Universe was conceived, but because this is me talking about the universe as a whole, I wanted to talk about how it all happened and how we get here. How do we get to where we are now with the title issue, Ultimate Universe 1 Year In by Dennis Camp and Jonas Scharf. So I want to say about a year ago, Ultimate Invasion happened. And it was essentially the maker reintroducing himself back into the Marvel Universe. He was angry. He hated everybody. He wanted to create a new universe. He wanted to create a new Ultimate Universe, because if you haven't known, the Ultimate Universe was essentially destroyed. We had some breadcrumbs here and there from other writers like Donny Cates, who kind of hinted that the Ultimate Universe was still alive and that there may have been something that would happen with the original Ultimate Universe. But Jonathan Hickman wanted to do something else. He essentially had the maker go to another universe, Earth 6160, and he shaped it into his own image. We saw that in Ultimate Invasion, the maker ended up changing things here and there. Peter Parker did not become Spider-Man, for example. Tony Stark actually isn't Iron Man. Howard Stark was. All these little things that change that would essentially change this entire universe completely. The maker ended up putting people in place. He had his own group running the entire world. It included people like Colossus, Magic, who were representing Russia. You had Hulk, who was essentially like the immortal weapon. He had the Iron Fist, and he was a lot more zen at this point, but still very evil. And he was in charge of America. You had the Kingpin. We also found out that Emmanuel DaCosta, who is Roberto DaCosta's father, if you guys know Sunspot, one of my favorite Marvel characters ever. In this universe, he is actually powering his father to be immortal. A lot of things changed in this universe, and a huge war broke out. King the Conqueror had came, fought the maker, and it became this huge event. Everything in this bubble was destroyed. There was a huge bomb that went off and it was destroyed. This branded whoever survived as a terrorist, and who survived, of course, was Tony Stark. This is what led to Ultimate Universe #1. Tony Stark found Ultimate Thor, who was imprisoned by Loki, who was the Allfather in this universe. Sif was essentially his warden. Sif broke Thor out, joined Tony Stark, and then they went and found Captain America, who was still in the ice. This essentially jumpstarts this entire universe. As a universe, before I even start talking about the comics that have come out, it's been a year. 12 or so issues have come out for each series that has come out, except for the Ultimates. The Ultimates is a bit behind. It's at around issue 8. And I have to say, as someone who, I'm not gonna front to any of you guys, I'm not the biggest fan of half of this line. Not in a way where I think that it's bad at all. I don't think the books that I'm not jiving with are bad. I just don't think it's for me. And you know what? What better way to start that is with Ultimate Spider-Man. I made a video on Ultimate Spider-Man #10, a review. Essentially talking, I kind of gave my overall thoughts on the series as a whole. I never really went in depth about that series and why it doesn't jive with me. Ultimate Spider-Man is the best way I could sum it up, and the best way I summed it up in that video. It is the most well-written comfort food comic that you can get on shelves right now. This isn't a jab at Jonathan Hickman. I think Jonathan Hickman, of course, is a stellar writer. He is amazing. He is one of the best writers right now. But I do think between Ultimate Invasion and between Ultimate Spider-Man, I'm not the biggest fan of what he's been doing lately. Even Gods to a certain extent, which I haven't finished completely, but I did not have that drive to finish it like most Jonathan Hickman comics kind of give me. And it's a shame. Ultimate Spider-Man is kind of flipping Spider-Man on its head. Peter Parker is married, he has 2 kids, Ben Parker is alive, Aunt May is dead, Norman Osborn is dead, Harry Osborn is the Green Goblin, and Harry Osborn is with Gwen Stacy, which I think is actually a very interesting flip on like early Spider-Man comics. If you have read the Stan Lee and John Romita Jr. comics, Peter Parker was obviously with Gwen Stacy, Harry Osborn was with Mary Jane during this time. So it's a very interesting flip to have this, but in this series, Harry Osborn and Peter Parker aren't like best friends. You know, they didn't grow up together like they did in the early comics. They didn't go to college together. They actually just met in this series at this age where Peter Parker is I want to say he's around like 35, 40 years old. So it's a very different dynamic. The one thing I do like is Peter Parker's whole drive of being Spider-Man is interesting. It's that story of reclaiming your destiny, especially a destiny that you didn't even know you had. I think that's a very interesting impetus for a run. However, I feel like this series hasn't done a great job of showcasing why. And while on the flip side, I feel like the whole point of this run so far has been to show that Peter Parker is a passive main character, and that is the whole point. And while that is the whole point, that doesn't mean that it's a good point. I think that Hickman has done better. I think that he's done slow burns with main characters that work a lot better. I don't want to trash this run. I don't think it's a bad comic book. I don't think it's the best Ultimate series either. If you think so, I think you are absolutely out of your mind. The Ultimates is the best one. There is no better series coming out right now than Ultimates. I can see why people like Ultimate Spider-Man, especially Spider-Man fans. This feels like the Spider-Man run they never got in a way, even though Renew Your Vows is right there. But you know, it feels like the Spider-Man comic that they never got, that they always wanted. And that's fair. That is, you know, 100% fair. But I do think that Peter Parker being this passive main character doesn't give me enough to chew on. I don't care for this Peter Parker at all, really. You know, outside of the fact that he has a family and that's what his drive is, there's no redeeming qualities about Peter Parker. He's just a 40-year-old man who is, you know, trying to change his life, but there's not much character there. Same thing goes for Mary Jane in this universe. She has nothing to do in this series outside of issue 12. That was her best showing, and even then, to me, I still think that's not enough. You can eventually make me like a character. I don't think that'll change the last 12 issues that we've had, and that's unfortunate because I think there is something there. I think there is something there with having Peter Parker as this passive main character, but right now the star of the show is Harry Osborn, Ben Parker, and J. Jonah Jameson. Those 3 characters are the best characters in this series, and it's unfortunate because you hardly see them. I felt this a lot, and I think it was issue 11 where Harry Osborn was not shown at all. And reading it, I was just like, I was bored. I was like, what's going on here? Where is the tension? Where are the stakes? And while like issue 12 does essentially tell us where Harry Osborn was during this time, I do still feel like that is a problem. If I am reading a story about Ultimate Spider-Man, you better damn well make me care about Ultimate Spider-Man. And I don't. You know, being married and having kids isn't enough. I've said that in my review on issue 10, where it's like, yes, for a father, having kids and being married, like that is their whole life, and that's what they do things for, and those can be the stakes, but they hardly have any personality. Both of his kids have shown flashes of like really interesting personalities. I like that he's a little bit more of a bookworm, but it's just like they're not involved in the main plot at all. And I think that's what it's missing for me personally. I think Ultimate Spider-Man could be an amazing series when it's all said and done, but I think right now it's kind of just riding on the fact that Jonathan Hickman is writing and Marco Cicchetto is drawing it, which are 2 powerhouse creators, but they're kind of just cruising right now. They're kind of just cruising, and you know, like it's cool. It's cool. I think that like not every book has to resonate with everybody. That's a very important lesson, honestly, that not every book has to be amazing. It has to work for everybody. I am very confident in the fact that Ultimate Spider-Man just does not work for me, and that's okay. If I was to like grade all this stuff, like, you know what, like I give Ultimate Spider-Man like a very high C+. It's decent. When it's good, it's really good, but its down issues are sometimes forgettable, and that is very strange for a Jonathan Hickman comic. Maybe I'm just expecting a lot more out of this comic, and that's not my problem, quite frankly. It should just be better. If I'm buying a Jonathan Hickman comic, if I am paying money for him and Marco Cicchetto, I better get my money's worth, because I am used to Avengers and New Avengers. I'm used to Fantastic Four. I'm used to East of West. I am used to Decorum. You know, all of these books that he's written. I'm used to X-Men. I'm used to House of X / Powers of 10. I'm used to these books that are damn near some of the best comics in the genre from the past 10 years. I should be getting that again. That's just how I feel about it. But yeah, that's Ultimate Spider-Man. I think that, like, it has time. It's only been a year, sure. And maybe it could turn around. Maybe by the end of next year, I feel completely different about the series, and I hope so. But right now, I'm kind of down on it as a series. Ultimate Black Panther. If you know me mainly from this YouTube, you kind of don't really know that I actually really like this series. I have written a bunch of reviews on Ultimate Black Panther over the last year. I really like this series. I think the first 7 issues were a lot better than, I want to say, the last 4. Yeah, about the last 4. And most of that, I feel like, comes from the fact that I feel like the last 4 issues suffered from some kind of rewrites or something like that. I have no idea what happened, but something happened behind the scenes, and I feel like the plot just kind of changed completely. For what it's worth, Ultimate Black Panther is taking a lot of inspiration from Dune, and kind of infusing MCU, elements into that. I think that I give this book a lot of benefit of the doubt for a few reasons. One, I really love Bryan Hill. I think he's an exceptional writer. 2, there really isn't like a prototypical modern Black Panther run that I would direct anybody to just be like, here, you kind of get the character, read this, and you'll be fine. Christopher Priest is kind of like that, but I do think it's very dated. There are a lot of things in that run that is dated. Excellent comic book run, but I do think it's very dated. Ta-Nehisi Coates' Black Panther is the best Black Panther run. However, I do feel that, like, it is not prototypical Black Panther. It deals with a lot of concepts that I won't say that a new reader wouldn't understand or wouldn't be fine with, but it will take some time, I guess. I don't really know how to explain it. It's just that, like, foundation was laid before Ta-Nehisi Coates, of course, and I think that, like, Ta-Nehisi flipped Black Panther on its head, flipped Wakanda on its head. I think what Brian Edward Hill is doing with Ultimate Black Panther is essentially doing what Brian Michael Bendis did with Ultimate Spider-Man originally, where he is taking this character and kind of just modernizing the original, like, concept of the character and moving forward and giving him adventures through there. I think that the whole Ra Khonshu versus Black Panther war has slipped a bit. Early on, it was a phenomenal, like, juxtaposition of having gods versus a mortal king, and essentially, like, asking the question, what is a king to a god? And then flipping it and being, what is a false god to a king, to a monarch? I think in this series, T'Challa is very much reminiscent of the T'Challa that we all know and love. So it works a lot for me in that regard. I do think that there are some flaws. This series is not without flaws. All of these runs, honestly, are not without their flaws. Even though these are some of the best comics that you could be picking out right now, they're all not without their flaws. Ultimate Black Panther, I will say, Storm has almost nothing to do. I was very excited to see, like, the kind of character that she is, and through, I want to say, issue 10 and 9, she kind of disappeared. Her and Killmonger went off to find the Sorcerer Supreme, but it's very strange because that kind of amounted to nothing yet. And I expected issue 11 to be like, this is the Sorcerer Supreme's, like, big opening, and it ended up not being that, and I was very disappointed in that. That's why I said earlier, like, it felt like there were some rewrites. It felt like there was some story rewrites going on, because everything was building up to the Sorcerer Supreme being this powerful third party that would intervene in the Black Panther / Moon Knight war, and it felt like issue 11 would be that, like, clash between these, and then 12 would be the big conclusion, but that didn't really happen, and it's very weird. I think T'Challa is written expertly in this series. I love the influence of Dune in this. It's not, obviously it's not as great as Dune, but I do think it's taking Dune and doing its own thing and infusing Wakandan mythology within that influence and making it into its own thing. I can see why some people may not be the highest on it. It is unfortunate though that like this is the only Black Panther comic coming out right now. I don't know why that is. It seems like Marvel is like, okay, you have a Black Panther comic, that's it. We can't have one in the main universe, which is very strange because he's only in Avengers, and it would be nice if he had something else in the main universe, but topic for another day. I'm sticking out with this run. I may be biased as hell because I love Black Panther and I love Brian Hill as a creator. I think he's one of the best writers right now. I genuinely love how this Black Panther kind of just, it genuinely does feel like, when I say prototypical series, like it's a run that like I feel anybody should be able to go to who understands Black Panther and, you know, enjoy it. I think there is a place for that, and I think there should be a place for that. It could be better. I do think that issue 12, I don't want to say is make or break, but I think it's going to be make or break for a lot of people, in the sense that if it does not, if Ra and Khonshu are not dealt with, there's going to be some problems, and I will agree. I will definitely be on that, you know, side where there are some problems with the storytelling, because we should be moving forward. Solicits for the next few issues really do hint that we are moving forward beyond Moon Knight, and I do wish that we got a little bit more from this Ultimate Moon Knight. I think his initial showing was very interesting. I like this idea of them being false gods and being like they're so power hungry. These are just straight up bad guys. There's no tragic backstory or anything like that. They're just straight up bad guys who want all the power in the world. They want to be gods, and like I keep saying, there is a place for that, and I like that. I like villains who are just straight up villainous. One thing I do want to mention is vibranium in this universe is very interesting. If I had a wish list for this series, I would want Moon Knight to be dealt with completely and totally, and when we move on, we get a little bit more exploration within vibranium. I do kind of wish that T'Challa wasn't the one that was doing this, you know, I guess experimentation with vibranium. I wish it was Okoye, because she is also a character that kind of has nothing to do. I do like that Brian Hill took the original inspiration for the Dora Milaje as being, you know, wives in training for T'Challa, and I like that he kind of did it respectfully in allowing T'Challa and Okoye to still be separate. T'Challa, like in this series, understands that this tradition is not the best tradition, and he's kind of thrown into this position. He's kind of thrown into being Black Panther and being king and having to work with this tradition of having a wife through Dora Milaje instead of picking somebody that he genuinely loves. They even sleep in separate beds. I don't foresee them like having, you know, any intercourse throughout this series. One thing I do wish though is that like their romance does get explored. If it does, it would be interesting if maybe Okoye starts, you know, feeling somebody else. But I do wish that something sparks between T'Challa and Okoye, because I think it would be an interesting flip on what Christopher Priest originally implemented in his Black Panther run of the Dora Milaje being, you know, wives in training essentially. It's a good series. I think the last few issues kind of are giving it a bad rep. Understandable. Not a lot has happened, and that's very unfortunate. I think we're seeing a lot of like T'Challa as a character, especially in issue 11, but issue 12, like I want this story to wrap up and move forward, because we've been dealing with Moon Knight for a little bit too long for my liking. As a grade, I'll give it like a B, a strong B. It's solid. If someone wants to read Black Panther, it's not the first run I'll give them. It's definitely a recommendation I will give them, because I think it is still solid. I would give it to a person with the impetus of that it is a different universe, but it's still like you kind of get T'Challa as a character. Everyone else is kind of different roles. Okoye is not the same. I almost forgot to mention, I love I love Killmonger in this series, and he's another character I wish we saw more of. I love that he is this soft like warrior. He's at times he's very vulnerable. His drive, he's driven by peace. He wants peace for his people. Very different from the Killmonger that we are all accustomed to, where he is a little bit more radical, you know, but this one he's a lot more calm, and I love that so much. I think it's an incredible reinvention of Killmonger. Again, I hope moving forward we see more of him. I would hope that he gets a little bit more to do outside of his like introduction issue. We haven't seen much. Moving forward, we have Ultimate X-Men. The series I am surprisingly not the biggest fan of. And I say surprisingly because I feel like a lot of people love this series. It is great in its own right. I think the problem is that Peach Momoko is just a very different writer. They are phenomenal. The art is exceptional. It looks like a Junji Ito manga in a lot of cases. There's a lot of body horror elements in this comic that I did not expect there would be. And I'm a big fan of Peach Momoko. I think she's a great writer. I think she's a phenomenal artist. Her Demon Days series is amazing. I love that inversion of those characters. But I think in Ultimate X-Men, it just feels a bit too much, at least for the first like 6 issues. It felt a bit too much like a slice of life manga. And I don't want to spark any discourse because that's not what I'm trying to do. But what I'm trying to say is that this works for manga because manga is weekly. And while that is the conditions there, that's bad. You know, I think that rushing artists to do something within a week, that's a lot. That's a lot to fit into a week. And I don't want Peach Momoko to do that for her Ultimate X-Men. I don't think that would work. But I think that genuinely this story would work in a manga format more, where it is weekly, where the story has this illusion of moving forward a lot quicker because you're getting it more often. But having to wait month to month for this story, I think that it's just like, it's probably the slowest moving comic of this line for me personally. I love the craft that goes into this series. I think that focusing on Hisako is amazing. The new character Maystorm, I think she's also interesting. Kind of flipping the Ultimate X-Men entirely and putting the focus in Japan and through that perspective and through that lens and how the X-Men would look like there is a very innovative way to create an X-Men story and create an X-Men team. The whole team is different. You know, it's Hisako, Maystorm, Nico, a lot of these characters that actually aren't like X-Men, except for Kwanin, who is actually Kanin. Her name is actually more Japanese accurate. She is also a X-Men in this, but they're all teenagers. I think, to me, like, if you're gonna make an X-Men series, that's the easiest and best way to do it. You know, teenagers have a lot of drama. They have a lot of, you know, problems that they go through, and a lot of people are going to relate to that. I guess I'm just waiting for something to like really pop off. You know, I'm just not the biggest fan. I just feel like not a lot has happened. I think the characters are interesting. I think that's the biggest strength about this issue in comparison to the other series outside of the Ultimates, where it's the character work in Ultimate X-Men is actually phenomenal. It's the best out of this line except for Ultimates, because everybody, you do get a sense of who everybody is and where they come from, who they're trying to be, and how they'll affect the plot in some way. But the story is just not there for me yet. It's kind of just, you know, it just feels like a day in the life for these characters right now. There is some conflict, but it doesn't feel engaging enough for me. Along with Ultimate Spider-Man, I have dropped these series. I have dropped Ultimate Spider-Man at issue 12. I will wait until maybe like the crossover with the main universe or whatever Hickman and Dennis Camp are planning, or I'll wait until the end of year 2 to like read the rest of Ultimate Spider-Man. Same thing with Ultimate X-Men. I'm kind of just waiting and letting these stack. I think that all of these series would have benefited a lot more from being graphic novels instead of being serialized month to month. But you know, it is Marvel. It is, you know, serialized comics. It happens. I can't give them the benefit of the doubt because they're not bad comics. I think all 4 of these comics have something to say and have something to really do, and I think they're really trying something. I just think it's taking a bit. I feel like all of these series will read better in the trade, and that's okay. You know, a lot of people are going to read this in the trade, but I do wish there was a little bit more for the people who are here month to month, issue to issue, because you know, it would feel rewarding every month to kind of get a little more every issue. But it is what it is. Ultimate X-Men is interesting. I think it is beautiful. It looks beautiful. If you are more into manga and you want to get into comics, I think this is one of those comics where you'll be like, oh, I can kind of get on track and continue. But right now, it's just, I'd give it also a C+. While it's trying and it's doing something, I think that like ultimately I have to see when, you know, things start moving, how I feel about it a little more. But 1 year in, Ultimate X-Men is kind of just like falling to the wayside for me, and I'll come back in a year and see how my opinion changes. But for now, that's just where I am with it. Now to the best comic printing on shelves right now, The Ultimates by Dennis Camp, Juan Frieri, Federico Blee, and even Phil Noto for an issue. Through 8 comics, through 8 issues, Dennis Camp has shown that he is in that same echelon as Ram V. He is doing a lot of things that Grant Morrison was doing with New X-Men. with JLA that the Authority was doing. He's an incredible writer. I talked about it in my Ultimates Volume 1 review, essentially talking about, can the Ultimates fix the world? Can they actually do it? And the answer is a big fat fucking no, because they are not equipped yet. This series does a great job of showing that like a lot of superhero comics are not doing it right. A lot of superhero comics are kind of just being superhero comics. They're not really doing something. They're not just telling, they're not like pushing a message anymore. And that's fine for a good chunk of them. Not everything has to be deep, has to dismantle oppression or anything like that. There are some comics that are just plain fun, and that's, you know, that's okay. But I think that like we have been missing that comic that is trying to tell us something, that is trying to tell us that the oppressors need to be systematically dealt with. This is doing it. This is just straight up doing it. And even, you know, even Ultimates number 8, where Dennis Camp introduces the Guardians of the Galaxy, where he does his best Legion of the Superheroes. He does his best JLA. He does his best reinvention of what the Guardians of the Galaxy were originally, where they were originally future, you know, superheroes. He turns them into Legion of Superheroes in the galaxy, and they're saving it. Because of the Maker, something happened where everybody was scattered. You know, America Chavez was originally a part of that team, and you have this universe's Captain Marvel, you have this universe's Star-Lord, the Ultimate Nullifier, you have Cosmo the dog, like, you have all these characters coming back to find America Chavez. They tell her about this history about her time as a Guardian of the Galaxy. Everything that he shows is just concepts on concepts, like reinvention on top of reinvention. It's high-level sci-fi in this series, and it's a great America Chavez, you know, issue, because it's showing like her dedication to wanting to save America, save the world. While her past life was being a Guardian of the Galaxy, right now she has an obligation to saving this world, and she wants to stick it out. She wants to do it this way. This series is phenomenal. If you're not reading the Ultimates, if you're not convinced, if you're somehow just like, I don't know, you don't see the brilliance, I feel bad for you, honestly, because it is genuinely amazing. It is the best comic book on shelves right now. It is excellent. It's not perfect, but it is excellent. It is excellent every issue. The only thing that I think would make it perfect would be, no shade on Juan Ferrieri, because I think his art is exceptional, but I do wish that like there was an artist that kind of pushed the envelope a little more, that was a little bit more innovative in the way that like Peach Momoko is. In a perfect world, honestly, like the Ultimates would probably been Jonathan Hickman, Dennis Camp, and Peach Momoko drawing, and it would be this like ridiculous creation of a comic book, of a, you know, of collaboration. But I think like the way it is right now is exceptional, and it flips the term of terrorist on its head, where it's really asking the question of like, what does it really mean to be a terrorist? It's amazing. I'm floored every issue. Surprising, like I say surprisingly, I knew that Dennis Camp would be like an exceptional writer. I knew he was brilliant. I just recently read 20th Century Men. I even more so am confident in his ability as a writer, but I did not see this. This is career-defining work, and we are watching a legend in the making. I think by the time the Ultimates is over, Dennis Camp will be solidified as the best writer, you know, in comics right now of this generation. He's cementing his place in comics right now, and I'm very happy for him. The work that he does, even outside of comics, is amazing for Palestine. He's an exceptional creator, an exceptional human being. I hope he gets all the success in the world, because he deserves it. The Ultimates, if you clear A+, S grade, whatever, the best. It is the best comic on shelves right now. I look forward to it every month, genuinely. Like, there isn't a comic that I look more forward to than the Ultimates. So, 1 year later, what does the Ultimate Universe look like? I think after 1 year, my expectations are kind of set. They damn well better be. I know what to expect from this universe. I think right now what I'm going to just do for Ultimate Spider-Man, for example, and for Ultimate X-Men, like I said before, I'm gonna wait for the trade. I'm gonna wait until, you know, the volumes come out. I will read, and I'll even reread Ultimate Spider-Man and Ultimate X-Men from beginning till the most recent volume that'll be out. But I'm gonna wait. I think that the best thing that you can do, if you are not feeling any of these comics, wait until the trade, read them, and I think that you will vibe with them more. I think I just like Ultimate Black Panther because I'm a Black Panther fan. I am biased to sell, and I really don't care. And I love Brian Hill. Stefano Caselli's artwork is amazing. I love that all the characters, I love that the characters in Ultimate Black Panther aren't just either bald or have a weird buzz cut. T'Challa actually has a hairline. Killmonger has locks that actually look, genuine, while Okoye kind of has like the, the bang, locks. I think it looks really good on her. Shuri has locks as well. I think that like it's her black hair. I'm here for it. As someone who has locks, I'm here for it. I kind of really love the fact that like they're not being like lazy with the hairstyles, and it's something that I thought about. Is just like, I wish there was more of this. I wish that more characters had like more black characters, different hairstyles instead of like a buzz cut or bald. I'm looking forward to the future of this universe. There has been teases of a 616 6160 like crossover. I don't know when that will happen. Don't know what it's going to entail really. I know the maker is coming back, I think from Ultimates number 8. I believe it would be 10 months, so I want to say October, either October or November, depending on how they count the months. The maker is coming back, so I wonder like what this means. I wonder what that's gonna happen, what that's gonna entail. Will there be a crossover this year or will it be next year? Very curious as to what that entails, but genuinely very excited for this universe. I think that all of the books there's merit in all these books existing, and I think that they're all great in their own way. Even the ones that just don't work for me, they still work. I know there's a lot of complaints about these books being slow. Fair. I think that while I give them all a bit of a pass, I'm not them being slow isn't really my issue. I think it's just that like I think you can do a slow burn while things still happen. That's more my issue, that like things just kind of just aren't happening. All of these comics are slow. They all have taken this impossible task of rebuilding this universe together, and instead of just assuming that this Ultimate Universe is the main Marvel universe but different, they are taking the steps to really shape this universe and show that it is different, and show like different things within this universe that make it different. I think that's fine. I do like the monthly kind of calendar way of going about it. I think that like I like that like it allows for things to happen in between issues, because some comics just kind of don't have that, where every issue between every issue something is happening in the Ultimate Universe. I do wish some of that stuff was expanded upon, but maybe it will, maybe it won't. But I do think it's an interesting thing to do, because I feel like so many comics now, like you have to know what happens within every second of every moment of the series. And I like this kind of like black box between issues of like things kind of just happen. People are just like living their lives. Things are just kind of happening in between issues. I don't really need to know everything that goes on, but I do know that like, they're living their lives. Like they're not just, it feels like these characters are alive outside of when I'm reading them. And to me, I like that. I like that a lot. This video is going to be very long. This video is very long. So I'm gonna wrap it up. If you've been enjoying the Ultimate Universe, let me know what comics you've been enjoying. Let me know why, what you guys are your favorite books from this line. What makes it your favorite? Let me know all of it in the comments. I really appreciate you guys. You guys have been engaging a lot with my last couple videos. I really appreciate it. Like, subscribe, comment, and I'll catch you on the next video. Peace.